Part. I forgot about that part. That's going to be painful.
We're trying to build materials that can change their shape under software control. And the reason we'd like to build a material that can change its shape is to enable new applications in user interfaces and 3D visualization, as well as things like smart antennas and new ways to communicate. So when I talk about a material that can change its shape, what I really mean is an aggregate of lots of smaller pieces that by rearranging the pieces can change the shape of the whole. When we think of those pieces right now, we imagine them being spheres. So for instance, as in this dramatization video that we're showing. But in fact, at a research level, we've given ourselves a smaller problem to start with. So we've begun by trying to build cylinders that can roll around each other's surfaces. Keep in mind that eventually we'd like to build spheres that roll around each other's surfaces. But cylinders allow us to constrain everything to a plane and to not worry about weight yet. In this case, we use electromagnets. We've been able to use arrays of 24 electromagnets arranged around one another here, such that two modules can cooperatively energize a succeeding set of magnet coils and roll themselves around. You can see that played out here on screen with these three modules here. One rolls around, touches and latches on, and then the next one rolls around it. Now, one of the things that our hardware research has turned up is that the magnets are not going to scale down small enough. When we imagine doing an application for product design, as in this dramatization, we need these things to be around a millimeter or smaller, so between a millimeter and a half a millimeter across. In order to scale to that size, we think we're going to have to go to electric actuators. And so we've started doing experiments on using electric fields to latch things together. And this is an electric actuator set that our collaborators at Carnegie Mellon University built. So in this case, you see that I can separate these two panels easily. But if I put them together and I place a charge of about 300 volts across the panel set, then I'm no longer able to separate them. They're in fact very strong. In fact, we could break these plastic handles without separating the capacitors there. Now, I could have just done that with glue. What's interesting in this case is that I can discharge the voltage across those two plates and then pull them apart quite easily. As these things scale down, we'll be even able to use electric fields the same way that we use electromagnets in these cylinders. That is, we'll be able to turn on an electric field actuator and snap a module around one of its peers. That's all hardware research, but really about 2/3 of this project is the question of how you would control this kind of a massively scalable, massively parallel system if you had it. For instance, in order to do basic product design, 3D visualization, you probably need 1 million or more units. In order to reproduce a human being at scale to do, say, telepresence, you probably need tens of millions of units. And that's quite similar to the scale, say, of the internet, but on your desktop and on every desktop. And with no sort of IT department to manage the interaction between those things, no networking providers to manage the interactions of all the pieces involved. So we're developing fundamentally new parallel programming and distributed debugging and concurrency management techniques that allow us to cope with such large numbers of interacting components. And by the way, we expect that each one of these interacting components, just like our prototypes here, is going to have a CPU on it. So in fact, what we're really talking about are ensembles of millions to tens of millions of CPUs working together towards common goals. And that's really the heart of dynamic physical rendering, and probably the place in which we'll see our first impact. You know, we have a really exciting premise that motivates this work, but fundamentally this is very important computer science about the next generations of computing that we're working on.